Hello there, welcome to Brian Lomax Movie Talk. This is a Patreon requested review. One of my patrons, Joseph Lionelle, he paid for the Bale tier, as I like to call it, which gets him a review of his choosing. And he has chosen the 1973 film directed by Nicolas Roeg, which I think is how you pronounce that name, Don't Look Now. Yeah, this is a film that has been kind of on my radar for many years. I've seen it pop up in a lot of kind of film critics lists of favourite horror films and that kind of thing. I know that Nicolas Roeg kind of had a few weird type of films under his belt. There was one I saw with Mick Jagger, can't remember the name of that, but yeah, I remember that being pretty weird. Certainly at a young age anyway. I don't know how it would fare today, but yeah, that was pretty much my experience with Roeg as far as his films were concerned. So Don't Look Now is about a married couple who lose their daughter. She accidentally falls into the river at the back of their house and drowns, and they go to Venice to just basically to try and get over it, just to get away from things, build a new life, and the wife is met by these two old women. They kind of come across them in this cafe, and one of them is blind and the other one, quite frankly, is just a little bit weird. But the blind one apparently can see things of a spiritual nature, and she tells the wife, played by Christie, that she can see their daughter at the side of them, and that she's laughing and that she is in a good place, and that she shouldn't worry about it, that they should be able to move on. Christie's character gets all hung up on this and wants her husband to come and meet them, and he's completely switched off to it. So yeah, he just thinks they're hacks, and that's that. So yeah, that's basically the story. But what about the film? For me personally, I think this was actually quite a good film. I'm glad that Joseph suggested it. This is kind of up my street, really. It's not perfect, there's a few issues with it, but for the most part, yeah, it's quite eerie, and it's got, even by today's standards, an ending that's still quite shocking. It's creepy as well, is another word I would use for this. But yeah, that word eerie definitely comes from the way this film looks, particularly towards the end. I mean, the streets of Venice, the way they're shot, it's all dark shadows and long corridors and very kind of, dense streets in which you feel quite hemmed in, quite closed in. You've also got water all around you, something that is a bit of a fear factor for the main characters, obviously, because it's water that killed their daughter. So there's a reminder of that all around them, bizarrely. Towards the end, really incredible. You have this kind of sense of dread all the time, just because of the way they shoot Venice. The two women as well, I quite frankly, I would be on Donald Sutherland's side, if I'm being perfectly honest. They seem a bit wacky right from the start, and the question as to whether or not they are they phonies, or are they real? Is what they're saying genuine? That's kind of the question, isn't it? Which, as I say, is answered towards the end of the film. I will say the pacing of Don't Look Now is a little bit slow for me, and I'm alright with slow films. Like Blade Runner 2049 was my favourite film of last year. I think I've said this many times on my channel, and that is extremely slow paced, but the stuff in that film that you kind of just soak up and need to in that kind of way. Whereas here, there's certain scenes, like there's a sex scene, for example, that just, like, seriously, I was checking my watch. I'm like, how long is this going to go on for? When films look at a couple that have lost a child, it becomes very difficult for them. And often couples in real life as well break apart because of that. They often can't stand the loss of a child. So it is nice in this film to see that this couple is still so loving towards one another. I thought that was a nice touch, but we didn't need to see like a really prolonged sex sequence. There's other things as well, like staying on doors that have just been closed for too long. Like there's literally one moment where some characters go out a door and the door closes, and then we're just looking at this door for about 3 seconds, which doesn't sound like a lot, but in movie terms it is, when you're just stood there, sat there looking at a door that's just been shut. Other times, like when Sutherland's character is dangling from something, he has something of an accident, again, it just goes on a bit. So I just think from an editing standpoint, there's a lot here that could have been tightened up. I like Donald Sutherland as an actor. I've always liked him for some reason. I believe he's American, but for some reason I've always thought of him as British. It's bizarre, because when I think of his son Kiefer, I always think of him as American. Especially after 24, he's about as American as they come. But for some reason, Donald Sutherland has that Britishness or British air about him, and I think here he does a really good job of playing this kind of everyman. He's a rich everyman. This couple is well off. He's a guy who restores old buildings. They've got quite a lot of money. They're not exactly street level people, but because of the way Donald Sutherland plays it, I can sympathise with him. I feel like he is a pretty level-headed guy, kind of down-to-earth kind of guy, despite his social standing, shall we say. Julie Christie, she comes across as a bit more of a toff, but still one I can relate to, still one I can sympathise with. But yeah, Sutherland, because it's Sutherland, I gravitate towards him on screen for whatever reason. I just like him as an actor. The film does deal quite heavily with some religious themes. The idea of being able to see beyond the grave is something that, on a biblical level, is you were told to stay away from. Just in case you're wondering, certainly in the Old Testament kind of sense, and I think the film does deal with that in some sense, because the woman who has this power, or claims to have this power, she does say that she doesn't like to tell people about it. She doesn't like to go and she doesn't want to make money from it. That's the thing. She's had people come to her and ask, in a sense, like fortune tellers, these people who tell people about the loved ones, and she doesn't want any of that. So there is that sense of a genuine kind of need to accept this gift, if you want to call it that she's got, and not misuse it. I do like that element, but like I say, these two women just come across as a little bit off kilter, a little bit weird, so it's very hard to warm to them in that sense. It's very hard to trust them, to trust that what they're saying is genuine. She could just be spinning a line. I do like Roeg's style. I like the way he uses the camera. I like the way he moves the camera, or kind of zooms into something to focus your attention. He controls your eyes. He's very good at that. He's very good at telling you or showing you what it is specifically he wants you to see. I don't think this film is going to be for everyone. Like I say, the pacing is quite slow. I think a lot of people are put off as well by religious themes, that kind of thing. But I understand why this film has the status it does, and I think it's probably one that maybe requires a second viewing as well. I think it's one of them films where you might get something else out of it upon further viewings, and it is a film that I'm still thinking about even now. I watched it a couple of days ago and I am still thinking about it, so it did have an impact, and I do like films like that linger in the mind. For that reason, I'm going to give it a 4 out of 5. If you have seen Don't Look Now, please do comment below and let me know what your take on it is. And once again, thank you to Joseph for requesting this film. I'm really glad you did. I'm really glad that I got to see it. So yeah, leave your comments below, let me know your thoughts, and until next time, crack in.